Welcome to Nice and Blunt, Pisces. My name is Adam Riancho. I am your astrologer, and this video is going to be all about the month of September. Not only um, what's going on astrologically, but also a tarot reading for that time period. And we will get into it in just a second. But I want to show you your chart real quick. This is the chart for August 31st, and that is a very, very important time for you, specifically Pisces, because that is the day of the full moon in your sign of Pisces in your first house, opposite the sun in your seventh. So that is a very big transit. We're all going to feel it, but especially you, Pisces. And I think you probably already started to feel some of that weighing on you already because today is August 28th. So it's just a few days away. But additionally, there is Saturn in your first house. Saturn is currently retrograde. There's a lot of planets that are retrograde right now. I believe Uranus also joined the mix. So there's going to be as many as 7 planets retrograde once we enter September as of right now. And boy, it is a very slow moving time for all of us. But I think this is one of the peak times for you specifically, the sign of Pisces. So we will get into all of these places as well. But there's also worth noting that Jupiter and Uranus conjunct in your third house, having to do with your house of communication. The North Node entered Aries last month, and that has to do with your finances. There's also Neptune. Also, I've almost forgot Neptune is also involved in this full moon spectrum. So that is one of your ruling planets, and this is really one of the galvanizers, I think, this full moon for your independence, your self reliance, how you feel confident in yourself. So that's something to keep in mind. And then one thing that we are all probably really excited for to be over is the Venus retrograde in Leo. That will be over on September 3rd. It started late July, but there's always the shadow period, the period that when we start a retrograde, let's take this Venus one for instance specifically. It started at like 28 degrees of Leo and it's been moving back. And the pre shadow period started back in June 20th, around 12 degrees of Leo. So that's really when that cycle first started. We went over those degrees, we're coming back over them. And then once the retrograde is finally over, we will hit the shadow period where we transition back over that transit, cross that transit one final time. We go over it 3 separate instances over every retrograde period. So that is not going to be over until October 7th, pretty much, until Venus is almost completely done with its Leo transit. And very quickly after that, October 10th, Venus will enter the sign of Virgo. So whatever you've been dealing with over the last month, in a way, it's not really going to be settled completely until we hit October. That's really when things will finally feel like they're back to the pace that we are used to, and it will enter some new territory. And for over a year, we will not have to deal with another Venus retrograde. But as I mentioned, there's the Mercury retrograde that started just a few days ago, and the Sun entered Virgo the same day. So that's really clouding the entire vibe of this Virgo season. Just a lot of retrogrades, a lot of rehashing, a lot of revisiting the past. And that's not always the most comfortable thing. Sometimes there's a bit of toxic behavior that we need to revisit because maybe we haven't fully learned that lesson. Or at the very least, the universe is testing us in case we are truly ready to move on. But last but not least, this happened today, August 28th. Mars finally entered Libra. It had been in Virgo for quite some time. There was a bit of irritability, a lot of slow paced nature to Mars in Virgo. And now that it's in Libra, it's not really like the most comfortable spot for it, but I think it is a little bit more ideal than Mars in Virgo. There's a bit more of a desire to cooperate, communicate, as well as a very strong desire for fairness in all aspects. Things need to be balanced. And if anyone is being taken advantage of, Mars in Libra can definitely bring the legal system into the mix in terms of punishments. Fairness is definitely the name of the game. So, those are the transits that you're currently dealing with. And I do have some notes that I would like to bring up. So, let's get into it. Let's speak on that before we pull some tarot cards. But as I mentioned, this Virgo season is completely flavored by all of the retrogrades, primarily the Mercury retrograde. I think that's really the biggest one. And it's taking place in your seventh house, which is asking you to re examine your significant relationships in regards to love, long term commitments, long term partnerships. Sometimes it can also include your work and career life, but mostly it has to do with your significant partnerships in terms of love. But Venus retrograde has already been going over this. As we've mentioned, this is taking place in your sixth house of health and daily life choices, but value is really the name of the game during this period, noticing where it is lacking and claiming more of it where we rightfully deserve. And Mars, while it was in Virgo for a significant amount of time, was heightening our irritability during its Virgo transit, but entering Libra, it will reinvigorate your passions because that's what the eighth house is all about. A lot of the desires and hidden natures of our personality. Sometimes the underworld is a big theme of the eighth house, and there's a bit of extra sexual drive that comes from this, as well as a desire to burn things down in order to transform and rebuild them. And while that is definitely a desire of ours at the moment, remember what I said about Mars in Libra. There's a definite big importance on keeping things fair, balanced, and sometimes not only do we cooperate, but we also compromise. I think a bit of give and take is definitely important for this transit. So be mindful of this, as well as any thoughts of the past, which will likely come up for you, especially in regards to any exes, perhaps. The Mercury retrograde in your seventh house is probably going to stir up that quite a bit. But retrogrades are prime territory for toxic behavior that isn't totally settled to be rehashed during this time. And given how the sun is also in Mercury, one date, I guess a couple dates that are really important to focus on when these two planets will be conjunct exactly. They'll cross over the exact same degree and they will be right on top of each other in the zodiac are September 6th and September 7th. So this is going to give us a week from that full moon intensity on the 31st of August to really embrace the emotional clarity that comes from all of this, put it into practice, and galvanize how you incorporate this all into your identity, as the full moon is in your first house of identity. The first house is the mask that we wear in public, how we want to be perceived, how we present ourselves. It's very noticeable by strangers and acquaintances, especially on first meetings, but especially as you get to know people more, as you get older and more comfortable in your skin, it does start to be shed a little bit from your outright personality. You might step into a little bit more of your sun sign energy, or maybe your 10th house energy, the midheaven, so to speak, as you rely a little bit less on this mask and the comfort that it provides from shielding your true self behind it. So this is really going to come into play when it comes to your identity. And one thing that I think is really, really important in terms of advice here, Pisces, is please do not settle. I wrote that in all caps. Please do not settle for anything during this period. Honor your value. That is what Venus retrograde has been showing you, what you are truly worth, and what you truly deserve. And especially when we enter the second half of September, following the 15th, not only will Venus retrograde be over, but so will the Mercury retrograde. The second half of September is going to be a lot more calm, as the cycles that we've been going through since late June are finally ending during this shadow period, as both Venus and Mercury retrograde wrap up. So when the sun will enter Libra, let's point that out. The sun right now is around right here, but on September 24th, it's going to join Mars in the sign of Libra. You can really embrace your passions. That eighth house energy is really going to come on strong, and those transformations that we were talking about will all be invigorated by the added boost of that fire from Mars. So good luck and have fun. While love is a little bit tricky right now during the retrograde and of both Venus and Mercury, one thing to keep in mind, one thing to really look forward to, that we will revisit next month when we do your October reading. When the Venus finally enters Virgo on October 10th, it's going to be in your 10th house. It was so close to hitting it back in late July, but it took its sweet ass time, went backwards, and on October 10th, Venus will finally move into your 7th house, which, as we mentioned earlier in the top of the video, is all about your relationships, your long-term partnerships, and I think love and harmony is really going to come into balance for you once we are in the throes, the mid period of Libra season. October is going to be way, way more pleasant, in my opinion, especially when it comes to love. So keep that in mind, something to definitely look forward to. Be patient in September and be willing to compromise a little bit. But overall, one of the major themes for you is moving on from the past. That is the theme of the month, in my opinion. I actually made this video already. I normally do the live streams. That's kind of been what I've been shifting towards, but I recorded one and I was going to post it, but I really had like no desire to edit. So I have pulled some tarot cards for you already, and I kind of am hoping that it's the same. It should be, but we will see. Overall, I don't think that message was probably the most important for you if I am now remaking this video as I am at the moment. But I also pulled a few cards additionally before I made this reading, and there were a few that came up. They were the Eight of Swords, which has to do with fear and hesitation, being kind of restricted. Then the Nine of Pentacles, so stepping into self-reliance, followed by judgment, making a decision. And then the Nine of Pentacles turned into the Ten of Pentacles, which is generational wealth. So I think once you really decide to rely on yourself for that confidence, I think it's really going to pay some dividends in your financial sector. And then the last card was the World, so accomplishment and recognition is really the name of the game. So that's something to keep in mind. If it comes back up during this new tarot card reading, I will highlight it, but we will pull some cards for the sign of Pisces during the month of September. This is officially the second portion of the video, so if you've jumped ahead in the timestamps, here we are. We are pulling some tarot cards for the sign of Pisces. These are general readings, so if it doesn't resonate, it may not for all of you. Take it or leave it. If it does, that'll be great. But let's see what is in store for the sign of Pisces in the month of September. The Two of Cups, the Knight of Cups, followed by the Sun reversed. Then Temperance. The Nine of Pentacles, that came up previously, as we mentioned, the self-reliance for sure. What else is involved? Oh boy, we got a good spread here. The King of Cups, followed by the Queen of Cups, followed by the Star, and lastly the Ace of Wands. And then there was one final card, the Ten of Swords. So a little bit of pain involved, but I think that's okay. We will finish shuffling, and we will get into this reading. So I think there's some big love involved here, Pisces. Very strong emotional gains. I think there is a partnership coming that's presenting itself to you, whether you are the one that's offering this cup. The other person is definitely invested as well. So there is some harmony coming. I think that's very, very lovely. It's something to really look forward to, some strong emotional ties. And followed by the sun, I think there's just a lot of fulfillment, a lot of happiness, a lot of comfort, stability, and excitement that's really, really going to come for this. However, one thing that's really important to keep in mind are these next two cards, which have to do with patience. Temperance is all about not rushing things, keeping a very balanced point of view, and kind of understanding that things happen on their own accord. That divine timing, that pacing is really something that's important to keep in mind. So not rushing things, I think, is also important. Not leaning too heavily on that partner is also important, because the Nine of Pentacles, which I did reference previously, came up again for you, Pisces. So self-reliance is really important. I think you will find the most clarity and the most strength when you have maybe not necessarily like a passive income, but something in your life that brings you wealth kind of on its own, in a way. Like that's kind of one of the things that this vineyard, this grape vineyard in the background of this card represents. Like all you got to do is water this and the grapes grow, and you can turn this into not only fruit to sell, but wine that can just gain value over time. And there's a lot of comfort and pleasure that comes from kind of taking it easy and being that self-reliant person. As long as you water your own garden, things will take care of themselves. So while there is love and passion on the horizon for you, I do believe that loving yourself first and foremost is really the name of the game. That full moon in your first house really going to direct a lot of that energy that you maybe have focused on other people back onto you. You are the valuable one, the most valuable one in your life. Keep it that way, because then it's going to bring you a lot of emotional stability. Maybe not only for you, but also your partner, whoever you identify with in this combo. These two people are meant for each other. There is a lot of emotional stability. They all have something to be proud of in their own right, and something that keeps them feeling very stable, very secure, and where they know just how valuable they are. So, like I've mentioned, value is really, really important. Not straying from what you really mean and who you really are, excuse me, and recognizing that not selling yourself short is really, really important. That's where you start to maybe step into more rockier waters. Like that's the thing about the King of Cups. Like their throne is out on the ocean. Like there can be some harsh winds, some really big turmoil, but they keep cool, calm, and collected, and they are able to stabilize the current, stabilize the surface of the water so that they do not sink, so that they do not get thrown off of this throne. Um, interesting. But then you have the star. So that's really, really stepping into your own power, that identity that not only, shines bright and nourishes yourself, but also nourishes other people. The star is the card of Aquarius, and it's also the water bearer. There can be a little bit of depth lacking without it. However, when you step into this glory, to this shining energy, you not only fulfill yourself, but you also nourish those around you. With it is going to come a renewed sense of passion, and there's a lot of drive, a lot of curiosity, some new ground that you're going to forge. However, the last card is very, very antithetical to the rest of this reading. So this one I'm going to want to clarify. The Ten of Swords feels a little bit like a big left turn from where we've been um, going over the course of this reading. While there is a lot of pain involved with this card, there's a lot of trauma here that is depicted. This person is healing. They are getting over those wounds. While it may not really look like it, it's still like a very painful process. In the long term, this person is indeed healing. It's just there's a lot to heal from. There's a lot of trauma, a lot of things that have kept them very immobilized and not feeling too strong. So let's clarify that 10 of Swords real quick. I want a little bit more understanding on that card. Please clarify the 10 of Swords. Okay. We'll go over these real quick, and then we will be done with your video. So the Ace of Cups, that's cool. The Two of Wands, followed by a little big bunch here. The Ace of Swords, the Four of Pentacles, the Five of Cups, the Six of Pentacles, Three of Wands, Six of Swords, King of Wands, and the Nine of Wands. So a lot here to be said, but I think as you're healing, there's some emotional stability that's really coming in, that's letting you know that you have options, Pisces. You can really go wherever you want. However, until you find the words and let go of a clinging sense of lack, if you're worried about, not having enough money in the future, or just making a decision that could be problematic, could diminish your position, I think that instability, that that hesitation, and that desire to just stay put is really going to be the detriment of your success. And getting over the past is really key. There's no point in feeling sorry about spilled milk. There's no point in being upset that certain situations didn't work out for you. If they didn't work out, they weren't meant for you. And there's plenty of opportunity still on the horizon that you can still capitalize on. There will be some charity involved. Maybe you're the one that's even going to take the high ground, be the one that's doling out that charity, and that will give you the strength you need to move on, to push forward, get out of your comfort zone, and leave the pain of the past behind. I think no matter where it is you're going, you are protected, you are going in the right direction, and things will improve. As sad as it might be, there is a new throne for you on the horizon, one where you don't need a lot of abundance in order to make abundance. You have your own cold-blooded nature when it comes to the the King of Wands, and you can make anything happen that your heart desires. Even if you feel a little bit wounded, a little bit like you've taken a step back, that is not the case. You have plenty of things to be proud about. And just because somebody may have taken from you or stolen something that makes you feel like, oh no, I'm never going to get back there, that is not the case. You are very strong. You are perfectly fine. It's just more so in your head, Pisces, rather than the true reality. So that is what I have for you, Pisces. I'm very excited for the month of October, for all of us, but especially for you, when Venus finally enters Virgo in your 7th house. And until then, I think just standing in your power, being self-reliant, very, very important. Moving on from the pain of the past. You are healing, but you're going to get there. Trust me, you are going to be okay. So that's it for this video. If you enjoyed, please hit that like button for me. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this, and I will see you in the month of October. I hope you have a lovely day, Pisces. My name is Adam Riancho, and thank you for watching Nice and Blunt. Bye.